Hello, Carrie.
Hi, Sophia. Okay, Sophia Stewart, we are live with you on live stream right now, and this interview will also be posted to YouTube shortly. So I just want to say hi to everyone out there, and please welcome Sophia Stewart, and we will be talking about a lot of information. I did post quite a long explanation of her case and the status on it on my website, but my website has been taken down now steadily for the last 2 days. The attacks are continuing, and my webmaster Tommy is working very hard to rectify the matter, but it's not easy, and any support for Tommy would be appreciated. I haven't had a lot of funds to pay him with over the last few months, and so if you can give Tommy donations directly, you go to my donate button on my website, which whether it's up or not, I don't know at this moment because I'm not able to check. So we're having some people that are saying they're having trouble getting on to the this show today here on live stream, not sure why. And I'm going to ask if everyone can hear me okay. So please type into the chat whether or not you can hear me. I'm having to do a little bit different setup here, trying to fix some problems I'm having with one of my computers. Okay, it says I'm faint. Somebody says I'm faint. Somebody says I'm audible. Okay, I'm turning the sound up a bit. Is this better? Is this...
Can you hear? This one is just as crystal clear also. Is it loud enough for everybody?
Okay, well, I don't know. So I think we're going to just have to go on with what we've got here. I've finally reached you. I did try you on Skype again, but it didn't go through. I tried another phone number. It didn't go through. So at any rate, let's go with this for now. And
okay.
And hopefully this will work for people. So if nothing else, for those listening live, what should be going on, and I am trying to record this in more than one device, and if anyone else is listening, and if you can record it on more than one device simultaneously, in case our recording doesn't come out, then we can have, you can send me the recording, we can get it up onto my YouTube channel later. So we should be able to get this going on some level. Go ahead, Sophia, and let's start. So basically, I think where we were was I actually think we need to start at the very beginning. So can you talk about how you filed a copyright basically for this book called The Third Eye?
And the script treatment, because what was stolen from me was a script treatment and a book by the same title, The Third Eye, and it was copyrighted 81, 83, and 84. And when you go into the Third Eye book, those copyrights and those letters of access by the defendants, Warner Brothers, Fox, 20th Century Fox, and Wachowski's, the information is in the book, including the validations of the theft by the FBI. And the court dockets and so forth, showing my filings and what took place. All of that's in the Third Eye book, and I'll be glad to send that over to you also, Carrie, so you can really look at the evidence and the paperwork. It's right there.
Thank you. And you've sent me a number of documents which are excellent. And let's just, first of all, I want to cut to the chase because you did win a court case. Isn't that right?
That is correct. I won my second court case in the federal courts of Utah. I won it pro se because I am a paralegal, and I won it on September the 25th, 29th, because, the order comes down the day after, or so a couple of days after, but it actually, the judge signed it September the 25th, 2014, by Judge D. Benson, and two federal judges, Evelyn J. Firth and D. Benson, validated as a fact on page 4, docket 283, that I am the writer and the owners of the Matrix and Terminator movie franchises from from my third eye copyright, and that the defendants in California and the California court had access to my work. And that's a fact, validated by two judges in Judge Benson's ruling.
Okay, and go ahead.
I won over $250,000 in attorney fees, something like $310,000, and I put in $3.5 billion in liens because Warner Brothers had injected themselves into the Utah court case as creditors in docket 285. And so when Judge Benson made his ruling, he let out 3 of the original defendants, but none of the interested parties or creditors were let out of the case during the adjudication or the final ruling that Judge Benson gave. So they are still liable for the $3.5 billion in liens. All I have to do is go for a debtor's exam and get several attorneys to come in and have them open up their books. If they don't want to show up, then we can have a judge to court order and make them show up for the debtor's exam. Because the 2 federal judges ruled that they owe me this money because it's a fact that I own it, that I created and wrote it under my third eye copyright. I know you saw that, docket 283, page 4. Harry?
Yes.
You saw this, right? Yes.
Absolutely. So in terms of now to go back to the story where you know, because people will be interested in how this all transpired, and I'm afraid we were interrupted with some issues here in audio, but can you talk about what your saga was from the day that you wrote it? And I think people would also be interested to know what the experience was in writing this. In other words, how did you come up with all of this? Because it's quite extraordinary, and so on.
Well, I was actually inspired because when I saw Star Wars in the late 70s, it wasn't that Star Wars inspired me, but I saw that Lucas was talking, Star Wars was the wars in heaven, and that George Lucas, the director, who's the owner and the creator of Star Wars, he's talking about the point of view of Satan, how Satan fell from the light to the dark side. And Darth Vader is talking about Satan. And I recognized, his concept. And I thought about, well, what would happen if the one, which is called the Christ or Jesus, what would happen if he came back and took on a body, and he came back in the future? And I realized that in the future, technology or the machines would be ruling, and they would have enslaved mankind, and they would have created all these programs, and people would be robotic. And I thought about that story, because in Revelation they said he would come back. So metaphorically, what I wrote was the second coming of Christ, because Jesus was the only one called the One, and that's what Neo is, an anagram or a sneaky way of calling him the One, Neoone. And when you look at the word matrix, matrix is a Latin word for the womb. And matrix is mentioned 5 times in the King James Bible. Exodus 34th chapter, 19th verse, God says, he who opens the matrix of the womb, or the children born of the womb coming out of the womb, or his children born with souls. Because man was thought, in Genesis, man was thought creating his own children, mankind, or a kind of man, but they would be born soulless, because they would be microchipped, cyborgs, like naked without shame, like the Terminator. Because the Terminator is actually the prequel to the Matrix. Because the prophecy is that the One would come back upon the earth again, and when the One came, he would destroy the machines in the future, and that the oracle would give this prophecy and of the One. And so when you look at John Connor's JC, Jesus Christ, grows up to be Neo in the Matrix. And the Terminator is coming from their own planet of the machines, would come from the future, because the Matrix and Terminator is past, present, and future time travel. So the Terminator is coming from its own planet of machines to the past to kill the woman, Sarah Connor, but Sarah Connor was Neo's mother, who was going to kill the woman who's going to have the baby. And when they couldn't kill the mother, they tried to kill the baby. And when you look at the second Terminator, he's a teenager, but he looks unisex, because in the future, I had him hitting out on paper as a girl. And that's why he has the long hair and the earring. And then he would not know consciously, because I wrote The Evolutions of Consciousness, he hadn't evolved consciously wise, he didn't know who he was. And then he would be hidden in the city, and when he reaches the age of 30 years of age, the rebellion or the revolution would take place. That's why it's called Matrix Reloaded and Revolution. And then the rebels who knew about the prophecy and knew about the oracle would come and get him and awaken him to his purpose. And he would have to be trained. Go ahead.
Okay. This is fascinating. And let me ask you, though, because I think a lot of people will be having a bit of trouble following the whole story. Was it the book that they read that they then wrote screenplays off of? Because I know you have screenplays now, or was it a screenplay that you wrote that they stole? Which was it?
I wrote a script treatment in a book with characters, graphics, special effects, martial arts fighting, all of this within the book. So
Okay.
when you see, so it was everything. It was so much work. That's why you see 7 movies, the three Matrix movies and the 4 Terminator movies, because I wrote so much work. In fact, a lot of other stuff came out of my book.
All right.
So go ahead.
All right. How long did it take you to write your book?
It only took me 3 years to write the book. I started in 1980, and I did the script immediately. And then the book was finished by November of 83. That's why the Terminator didn't come out until actually October the 26th, 1984. And the Matrix didn't come out till March the 31st, 1999, because what happened was the second Terminator took 12 years because they couldn't do graphics and the special effects that I had, because I'm a visionary. So I was talking about downloading. I was talking about barcodes, computerized warfare with the drones. I'm talking about body scanners, food scanners. I'm talking about...
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me now. We were just interrupted, and now we should be online again. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Okay. So where were we? You were just talking about, they didn't have, actually back in those days, they didn't have the chip, they didn't have, the barcode and so on and so forth, right?
Right. Like in the Terminator, when you see Trinity is telling Kane to download her so she can fly the helicopter, because in the future you would get these downloads. You wouldn't have to study any books or go to flight school. You could just actually get a download and actually know how to fly a plane or helicopter, or to work, any kind of technical equipment, technology.
Yes.
And so, so I'm talking about all of that, in 1980, and it was 15 to 20 or 30 years down the road that this would become a reality. You see what I'm saying? But I'm talking about it. Yes.
Okay. So in your
ahead.
life, though, basically, can you talk a little bit about your childhood? And we're going to get back to the actual court case just a bit later, but I want to set the scene a bit here so that people understand, a little bit about Sophia. Can you talk about your childhood, how you kind of came to be such a visionary?
Yeah, it's really easy. My grandmother's full-blooded Cherokee, and my father Spanish, he's Portuguese, and then my grandfather also had Portuguese blood. But my mom was like half native, but my grandmother was full-blooded native, and my grandmother had the gift of sight. In fact, my grandmother saved my life. You know, during my pregnancy, she saw that I was already past the 9 months. And when I went and saw the doctor took a scan and saw that I was almost 10 months. And so I had to have a C-section. So my grandmother said if I did not get the baby out of me, I would die. And she was 100% right. So my gift came from my grandmother. My totem is the jaguar, Cherokee. And so it's true.
No, I appreciate. I'm laughing because that's also that's the theme song of Camelot is called Jaguar.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, the natives, the Cherokee Nation, of which I'm a member of, they did a reading on me, and they did the reading, and they found out my totem was the jaguar. Now, I knew my totem was a cat, but I didn't know it was the jaguar cat.
Yes.
But I knew it was a cat. Yeah, because that totem followed me around. Now, I'm from New York City. I grew up in New York. I went to school there, and I also went to school at USC Film School. Now, I had a gift in numbers. I'm what's called a mathematician.
You're what's called, I'm sorry, you're called a what?
I'm called what you call like a polymath.
Yes.
Someone well-versed in numbers like Leonardo da Vinci, the polymathematician, Tesla, those guys were polymaths. Now, I didn't do any high school. I took the New York Regents and went into college school at High. I have a gift in law. I only took 20 credits in law, but I have mastered like copyright laws, trademark laws, which some of these laws, RICO laws, they're very, very difficult. Yeah, and to even maneuver in the federal courts is very difficult for some attorneys. And I was taught law by the Brooklyn and Manhattan attorneys, but 20 credits is nothing. But I have this extraordinary gift because you've read some of my briefs. And like law firms are just totally amazed by my gift and my knowledge in law.
Okay.
And some people call me a child prodigy because I was doing taxes when I was 11 years old, and I was already getting paid. I was an entrepreneur, and I was getting paid. I was actually doing what H&R Block is doing now, but I was doing it 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And getting paid because a lot of adults did not even understand taxes. And I was doing payroll when I was a teenager and creating the payroll check for adults. And I scored a 98 on the IRS exam. They wanted me to come and work for them because I was doing 1099 OIDs, phenomenal taxes and so forth.
Okay.
So I had had a natural gift, and I got what you call a photographic memory. And that means that I can remember dates and times and places and names and things that most people, cannot even remember. I can do remote reviewing. In fact, I know I sent to you the information that unclassified information that used to be classified 60 years ago that Homeland Security sent to me from the Pentagon on the alien ship that was in Matrix 4. Do you remember that? Did I send that to you, Terry?
Well, you sent me some remote viewing information. I'm not sure whether you sent me anything about a Pentagon. Maybe you sent me something, but I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, I sent it to you. It says on there when you go back and look at it, it has an alien ship because they had captured these alien ships. And they said that I had actually solved the Roswell incident for them. because they didn't know how the alien ships really flew. And then when you look in my book, Matrix 4, the very ship, they sent me a picture of the ship and the dynamics of the alien ship. And that is the exact alien ship that's in Matrix 4, the Duo that you were reading about, that hovers like a helicopter, but it breaks the speed barrier, you know, and it can be seen in two places through two time portals at the same time. And it has the cloaking on it, and what I saw from the Roswell incident was they didn't know how the ships flew when they got those aliens. Like the aliens died, but the ships did not fly like our ships with rocket fuel. And of course, nuclear power packs have not even been invented yet. But in my book, The Duo, I'm explaining that it actually flies by magnetic ring pulsion and the reversal of gravity. Do you remember reading that?
Well, yes, and I mean I'm aware of this already in a, you know, because some of this is already out in the public domain, as you can appreciate. But at the moment, what we could do here is really talk now about the court case and how it is that your book, your screenplay, your everything got into the hands of the Wachowski brothers, of Warner Brothers, and so on.
Yeah, it was quite easy.
As well as the Terminator, because I guess what happened here is that the Terminator came through first. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so that means that wasn't it Carol Coe that did the Terminator?
Well, first the Terminator was taken by Dale Ann Hurd and James Cameron, and it was put into a constructive trust. A constructive trust is a holding company that holds property without the permission of the owners, you know, without the signature of the owner. Right. And the Dale Ann Hurd created a constructive trust, a holding company called Pacific Western Productions. And this can be seen on the copyright. And what she did was she put my work under this constructive trust, and it was holding my work. And then when they got ready to do the movie, they assigned my work to Hemdale Films. And Hemdale Films assigned it to Caracol Pictures. And then Caracol Pictures assigned it to Caracol Pictures too. And then on until it went on to Halcyon and all these other holding companies. And Warner Brothers had a holding company called Raji Alwell, almost like an East Indian name. But it was a trust, but it's a trust with a person's name, just like Dan Cracchioli is a trust. And see, they start creating back in the 30s and 40s, Jack Warner and his three brothers, or four brothers, start creating these trusts where they could just hide money, and you can do anything you want with this money. You can start a war with this money. You can run guns with this money. You could do drug trafficking. You could do anything because no one had ever thought. And then these Warner brothers, they were very super smart. One was an attorney, like a tax attorney. One was a real estate attorney, and another one was a mortgage attorney or something, or a corporate attorney. So they came up with devising these trusts, and you use a person's name. And then when anybody come in and examine these trusts, they will think it's a trust set up for, like how you set up for your kids, or you set up for your family member, but it's a bogus name. And what they did was set up these trusts in the term matrix trust, and then what they would do is assign from one trust to another trust the money and the work. That's how they were doing. And you can look on the copyright and see this. And I think I might have sent you that. If not, I can send it to you so you can learn the intricacies of how people feel creatively in the corporate world.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, there is part of the reason for having you back on the show is because, you know, there is a growing list of screenwriters out there who have their work regularly stolen, and they do not have legal recourse, mostly, I imagine, because they don't have the money to pursue it. And sometimes, I have been told stories from people, you might call them horror stories, about this going on. In your case, you were fortified in part because you filed the copyright to begin with. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I want to tell people that do not file this poor man copyright. It's a bunch of crap. You can't even go to court. The FBI will not investigate your claim. They investigated, and the Department of Justice also validated my theft on my case because I had those copyrights. Now, the government is wrong. I'm a paralegal. Let me explain it to you. The government is wrong because when you like, say you're a teenage kid, download music from the studios, well, the FBI is going to come out and arrest them. They don't care about them being 14, 15, 16. And if you go and you start selling bootleg movies, they're going to come in, they're going to knock on your door, they're going to arrest you. If you put on some Google glasses and go in and you film something, I don't care if you do it accidentally, they're going to arrest you. You might even get 3 years of prison. But this is where they're wrong. When we get stolen from by the studios, which have stolen your money, your work, because your work made the money, so they stole your money also, the profits, because once they steal your work and make all this money, say they make hundreds of millions of dollars or they make billions of dollars, they're going to take your money and use it to fight against you with it. Now, the government is wrong when they send you to court against these billion-dollar studios and corporations, $100 million companies, because you don't stand a chance. This is why we pay $65 or whatever we pay for the government to come in and protect our copyrights, our trademarks, because they can battle these big octopus, these big giants. They can go in there and stand toe-to-toe, battle them, and prosecute them, and so forth. But they have no business sending you guys to court to fight billion-dollar corporations or $100 million corporations, where these corporations will buy out lawyers. That's right. Buy out tons of law firms, because they did it to me. They bought out 4 law firms that sabotaged my first case. They will buy out politicians. You heard me right. Slush fund money goes a long way. It'll buy out politicians for their campaign. It'll buy out agents, FBI agents, policemen, judges. And if they can't buy the judges, then they'll go in and find something dirty on the judges. So this stuff is wrong. The FBI, I cannot believe it. They came in, they investigated my case and validated the theft and gave me the documentation, gave me the documents to prove it. The DOJ went in and did the same thing. But right after that, when the studios start stealing even more, and see, the studios went under fire by the FCC. Well, the FCC actually went under fire for giving the studios all of this media, because back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, the media, like the corporation, could not own all of the media, because they actually, this is where Matrix come in. They actually, by owning all this media, they get to control what you buy, how you dress, how you act, what you think. Programs, they program you daily and tell you what to do. They pay the Kardashians $100 million just to show and tell a whole segment of people what to do, how to live, what to buy.
Sure.
This is what's going on. This is programming,
absolutely,
Matrix.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. So now to get back to your court case in terms of blow by blow and what actually went on. So you wrote your book, you submitted it, and then Gail Ann Hurd, through her production company, I imagine, then took at least a portion of that book related to the Terminator. She got teamed up with James Cameron, and the two of them wrote a screenplay based on your book. Is that correct?
Let me tell you what they did. She didn't have the Pacific Western production. She created it as soon as because what happened was, when I sent the work over to 20th Century Fox, an executive producer named Susan Nesback, she was vice president of creative affairs at that time. She got hold of the work, and that's where you read the letters, or I will send you over the letters. She and her secretary, Kay, was communicating with me. They loved it. 20th Century Fox shareholders wanted to buy my work. And what happened was this vice president stole it from Fox shareholders. Stole my work, which became the Terminator, from Fox shareholders. And she was moving over to Paramount, and that's where she caught up with Gail Ann Hurd, her buddy. Now, Gail Ann Hurd and James Cameron was just finishing up a bomb called Piranha. Terminator was not his first movie. Piranha was his first movie, a B movie that was done over there in Italy with some Italian investors, and they were angry with him. Now, both Gail Ann Hurd and James Cameron caught up with each other over there with Roger Corman. They were in Roger Corman's production company. Roger Corman got like $16 million because I'm pretty sure Roger Corman was the director of the first Terminator. And John Woo was the director of The Matrix. And how do I know about this? Because the FBI's paperwork and documentation's on it.
Okay. Who was the first director of The Matrix? Who did you say?
John Woo.
Oh, all right.
The agent,
yes.
The agent director Woo.
Yeah, well, he started out as a cinematographer, actually. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so, but before we go there, I just want to finish up the Terminator side of the story. So this, I guess, sort of an executive, she was a top executive over at Fox, turned it over to her friend, Gail Ann Hurd. From there, Gail Ann Hurd worked with Cameron, I imagine, to write. Did they write a screenplay based on your book?
Yes, they wrote a screenplay based on my book, exactly, because James Cameron cannot write. Gail Ann Hurd cannot write. James Cameron enlisted his friend William Wisher and Randall Franks, and they were the ones who adapted my book and my script treatment into what is the Terminator.
Okay.
So when you see the Terminator, coming through the blue flame.
Okay, now you found this out later, is that right?
Yes, I found this all out through the FBI and some of the lawyers and stuff that worked at the FBI. I can send you the documentations on it where you can actually read up on it. And they used Harlan Ellison as a cover because they knew that James Cameron, everybody knew that James Cameron could not write in Hollywood. All the people or significant people knew. So they used Harlan Ellison as a cover. They sold some of his teleplay, about $85,000 worth. They paid him, and they gave him some credit, and then they took his name off of the product. I've talked to Harlan Ellison personally, you know what I'm saying, about it. But he's vocal on YouTube telling everybody about it.
Is he?
Well, you know, they used him because he's a Acular award-winning science fiction writer, author, well-known in the field, well-versed. So that's why they wanted to use him. James Cameron was bragging about it, that he had stolen some of Harlan Ellison's teleplay. When you look at the Terminator, that's why it looks so old and 60-ish, because of the teleplay. Teleplay is scenery. It's just like you're creating a scenery background platform for the story.
Okay, but in terms of the Terminator sort of series, and you took them to court, but you didn't. Did you win against them, or how did that happen?
What happened was I took them to court because what happened was when the FBI did their job, they validated the theft. When they got ready to go to the prosecute over at the U.S. Attorney's Office, see, this is what happened. The FBI says to function like the police. They go out and serve warrants, arrest you, and gather evidence, and blah, blah, blah. But the U.S. Attorney's Office functions like the DA's office for the blue-collar crime. Because this is white-collar crime that's in the millions and the billions. But the U.S. Attorney's Office is the one that prosecute you. And so what they did, the U.S. attorneys dropped the ball because they took the slush fund. So what I had to do was go and file my own court case. Because I was well-versed in law, I went and filed a court case because I had to get these people. I wanted to stop the atrocity of them stealing our art, the studios, because we had great diversity in movies. When they were buying our books, our stories, and our work, we had the greatest movies in the world, and the theaters were filled up. But then they decided that they didn't want to pay for it anymore. They wanted to own the whole pie. Why own just a movie derivative that's derived from a source work when we need to have the video game, we need to have the DVD, we need to have the graphic novel, we need to have the TV series, we need to have gaming or slots.
Okay.
See, that's a
Fair
big
enough.
part.
Yes, absolutely. But as far as just to stick with the storyline, so you filed then a case against what? James Cameron, Gail Ann Hurd, Carol Coe, right?
No, I filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers. There was 8 defendants.
All right.
Warner Brothers, Hemdale Film, the holding company.
Was the Matrix wrapped into this lawsuit as well? Did you?
Matrix and Terminator
for both of them.
No. It was Matrix and Terminator because it's one work, one body of work. Even though it's 2 different franchises, the Terminator is the prequel to the Matrix. So I filed that both of them are one, even though they separated them and divided them and made people think it's 2 different things going on. But the Terminator actually goes into the Matrix. So I filed a lawsuit for both Matrix and Terminator. So it was Matrix and Terminator defendants like apples and oranges.
Okay. So you filed your lawsuit, and what happened?
Let me just tell you who the 8 defendants were.
All right.
It was Hemdale Films, the holding company that held the Matrix and held the Terminator property, and it was Gail Ann Hurd, James Cameron, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, because 20th Century Fox had distributed the Terminator overseas and made DVDs, and Joe Silvers, because he brought the Wachowskis over, to Warner Brothers, and then Andy and Larry Wachowski. So that was the 8 defendants. Okay. Joe Silvers, Andy and Larry Wachowski, Warner Brothers, Fox, Cameron, and Hurd, and Hemdale Films.
Okay. And then what happened?
Well, I wrote my own legal brief, and like I told you, when I saw the judge, I went and talked to the judge, and I told the judge that my work had already been stolen, it had already been validated by the FBI, and that I did not accept the settlement. Because when they give you a settlement, they give you money, they gag you, and if you talk about it, they take the money back. So I didn't want that, and I told the judge what happened and that it was validated, and that he court-ordered RICO served on these defendants, because I felt like that it would be a great deterrent if some of them went to jail. They would actually stop stealing from the people. So the judge, Terry Hatter, gave me 20 questions. He said, Sophia, if you can answer these 20 questions, I will court-order RICO served on them. And he court-ordered RICO served on them. I answered the 20 questions, and they got scared. Bruce Isaac was, Wyman and Isaac, Beverly Hills, was the law firm for all 8 defendants. And if you're guilty, you better have the same lawyer. That's right. So Bruce Isaac called me up one day, and he says, we would like to pay for you to drop the RICO, and because we can't beat it. 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers told me to call you. And I told him no, because I wanted some people to go to jail, to send a message to stop stealing from the people. So at that point, he hung up, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came these 4 attorneys. Now, I kind of felt like maybe 1 or 2 was going to sabotage, but what is the odds of all 4 of them coming to sabotage you? One was a RICO specialist, Dean Webb, and one was a copyright specialist, Jonathan LaBelle, and then one was a litigator, Gary Brown, and of course Michael Sola was a Beverly Hills lawyer who had 2 law firms, Denton Hill. He was well known. They all knew each other, and they all pretty much belonged to the same church. Now, what I didn't know was until one of the lawyers confessed and told the FBI and myself, Dean Webb, that that they were sent to, one of us had paid them to sabotage me, to obstruct justice. But anyway, I didn't know this until later on. So what they did was they withheld the evidence. Because, see, if you don't put in discovery, you don't put in the evidence, then the judge can shut your case down, dismiss it, or shut it down on a summary judgment. And what happened was, I told you I had a phenomenal complaint. I had the most phenomenal RICO that they couldn't beat. But what I didn't know was when the four attorneys came on board and they filed to the court, they immediately took out my amended complaint. And one of them, who was a RICO lawyer, Dean Webb, he immediately took out my RICO, and they started constructing another RICO that didn't have any claims. It didn't have any affirmative.
So what happened as a result of that?
Well, the judge, they got rid of the judge that was going to bend over backwards to make sure I got justice. That the late Johnny Cochran, he died before he could do my case, but I was invited to his funeral. His publicist, Terry Williams, was the one that introduced us. So what happened was they took him out. They hired his son. His son is an attorney. They hired the judge's son, who's an attorney, and paid him money but never used him, just because the judge had to recuse himself. All of these court docs I can provide, everything that I'm talking about. Anyway, the judge got off the case, and they put their own girl, their own judge from the same church with them. Margaret Morrow was a church member with them, and she had worked with Warner Brothers. There was no way she should have been on the bench. She should have recused herself because she had worked for Warner Brothers. There's a conflict of interest. The media was talking about it.
I see.
And she had already called over to the FBI, and she found out that it was stolen. The FBI validated the theft. But she still went on with the court. And they wouldn't put in the movies. She said, had they just put in the movies, I would have won the court case. What they did was they went out and bought the 6 movies, 3 Matrix, 3 Terminators at that time, because the Terminator 4 wasn't even created yet. 6 movies. They paid $283.50 for this from Best Buy, and guess what? Never entered the movies in. One of the lawyers, Michael Stoller, admitted in an affidavit that he had gotten the movies but refused to put them in.
Okay, so
that's how they got the case shut down.
Okay, so but you did win a case. So how did you win? What kind of a case did you win? And are you still waiting for money from other cases? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, this is it. The second court case is where I'm waiting for the money. Because what happened was, right after they sabotaged me, I get a call from the Illuminati, and this is real. And the Illuminati told me, and this is in November of 2006, and the court case, of course, was ended June the 13th, 2005. Now, Warner Brothers, Andy and Larry Wachowski, Joel Silvers, Fox, and Hemdale Films never answered the amended complaint. I will give you the transcript, Terry, so you can see it with your own eyes. So when the judge adjudicated the case on June the 13th, 2005, they were already in default. You got 30 days to answer. You don't answer, you defaulted.
Right.
They all got terminated out on January 3rd, 2005, except for Hemdale Films. Hemdale Films was in default on July the 12th, 2004. So when the ruling came down by Judge Morrow, they wasn't even a part of that ruling. They never won any judgment, and they never won any money against me. So what I did was, the Masons told me that I was going to have a visitor as soon as Prince Charles, his then wife Camilla, touched the American soil. And sure enough, as soon as they got here to the USA, my visitor was Governor Schwarzenegger. He was governor then. He congratulated me and offered me money, $5 million, because he owned 5% of the Terminator. He owned stolen work while he was governor of California. I'll be back, we'll be back, comes from me, because the Terminator comes back as 3 different cyborgs. So every time he said, I'll be back, he owes me money. Copyrighted term.
Okay.
That's right. And he
so wait.
Now,
So he came to your door. He offered you money. I mean, seriously?
He offered me $5 million, and because he owns 5% of the Terminator.
I appreciate that. But did he actually? Okay, and he actually came to your door in person.
He didn't come to my door. He called me. He called me.
He called you. Okay, and what happened?
And he congratulated me, and he offered me $5 million because he called the Wachowskis and them fools. He called Cameron and all them fools. It was comical.
All right. And so, you turned him down? Is that correct?
That's right. I turned him down because I did not want these people to continue to steal from the people. That was very important to me.
Okay.
See, if I had taken the money, you would have never heard of me. Nobody would have heard of me.
Right.
I would have gone off, enjoyed the money, and been gagged.
That's
but
right.
I did not want our work stolen. I wanted to continue my work. All creators, whether you're Mozart, whether you're the late Michael Jackson or Frank Sinatra, you want to continue your work. All geniuses, all creative artists, no matter who they are, if they are architects, sculptors, painters, they want to continue their work. I didn't want my work to be stolen. I wanted to continue it because I could give the people what they wanted. And the people who lie can't give you anything. They have to shut it down, kill out everything, kill out your art form.
Okay.
So it doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
So then what happened in terms of, you didn't take the money, and then what happened? You filed another lawsuit?
Yes, I filed another lawsuit in Utah because I talked to a Department of Justice prosecutor, and he told me, you need to go somewhere else. He said, don't go back to California. He said the most corrupted lawyers and judges are in California.
Okay.
As God is my witness, that's what he told me.
I hear you.
And this is why I filed it in Utah, because I come from a military law enforcement family, and I was visiting my brother who was stationed there at Hill Air Force Base, military, and so I knew that the Mormons were really good people. And then plus I was living there for a little bit of time, and I had a driving license, which was my domicile. And your domicile determines where you can file your case. But the FBI told me that I could also file where I lived or I was a victim. You could file a lawsuit where you are a victim, or what victim means where the action took place, or where where you live at that particular period. Well, this is also something that I told the judge, because I got some lawyers at first, but the lawyers told me, Sophia, we can't get them because they're trying to cry that the case over in California is over a year old, so there's no appeal because they had cut off your appeal by not filing an appeal in 30 days for you, and that you can only file, you got up to 1 year, but now it's 2007. And they said that Utah doesn't have any jurisdiction. They said, so we really can't get them, Sophia. Help us out. So I said, no problem. I wrote up an affidavit, and in the affidavit I told Judge Kimball, which was the Utah judge, that these 4 attorneys came and solicited me while I was in Utah. And I signed contracts with them in Utah. And I paid $50,000 in cashier's checks from the Utah bank and this is where I was victimized by them with fraud and malpractice and fiduciary duties and blah, 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 and so forth. So the judge came back with the ruling, Judge Kimball, and said Utah had jurisdiction. And that shut them down. Oh, they were crying.
Okay.
Can you imagine they had to come to Utah to fight the fight?
Yeah, okay.
And I got to tell you something, too, that's going to blow your mind. Howard Hughes had some of the best Mormon attorneys, some of the most phenomenal attorneys, Howard Hughes. And they had heard of my case, some of Howard Hughes' attorneys. And they called me and they begged me. I wish that I had listened to them because they had begged me to let them come in on my case because they said that these people were Scientologists and that they were the only ones that had beaten the Scientologists.
Okay.
The Scientology Church.
Right.
But I didn't even know, and they said Michael Stoller they had been investigating my case and that Michael Stoller was the master, he was the master manipulator on this with the other three. But anyway, I went over there to Utah because of the Mormons. I felt like I could get justice out of them.
Okay.
But the case got very political, as you know. And it lasted for 7 years. But guess what? I beat them. They cheated. They lied. They committed perjury. They committed fraud. Jonathan LaBelle, the lead attorney who put them under his contract, he had died before the court case even started, and they kept lying and putting in documents for him and saying he was sick and they were helping him out and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And I still beat them. No matter how much perjury, no matter how many lies, no matter how many people they bought out, and different judges was falling off like flies. The first judge, they got rid of Kimball. Then they brought on Judge Wadoff, Clark Wadoff, and Brooke Wells. And then they got scared because they saw that it was getting into the criminal aspect where they could go to jail. They dropped off. Then Judge Evelyn Firth and Judge D. Benson came on. And these were the two last ones to finish off the case. Now,
okay. I
won against those other three attorneys, would you believe? But they dismissed those attorneys out of the case. There was no way they violated my rights to due process of the law. The only way that anybody, defendants, can get out of a court case is they settle out with you or you win through the courts. You take them all the way and you win through the jury.
Okay,
but these judges took them out. Now, how can you take them out when I didn't hire them technically? Technically, the other three lawyers were hired by the lead attorney, Jonathan LaBelle. They came under one contract, his contract. So when Jonathan LaBelle loses, they lost too. Go ahead.
All right. But so you won the case after 7 years, and the case you won was what?
I won a malpractice fraud case against the four attorneys, but this is the interesting part. Look at docket 285. The Warner Brothers and the Wachowskis and Fox and them never got a judgment in California. They needed a judgment to put against me, so if I didn't pay that $305,000 attorney fees, then they could leverage that for my copyrights. So they entered in as creditors, which was perjury, because if you look at the California transcript, they're in default. They never answered. So they were terminated before the judge's ruling came down. So they entered and they were asking Judge Benson to give them another judgment, the same judgment that they didn't get in California. And Judge Benson was so pissed off at them, he gave the money to me. That's right. And I put in the liens on them because I knew that all I had to do, and I did the liens myself, and it's good as gold, all I had to do was put them on record in the court and then call for a debtor's exam and make them come. And if they don't come, I can get a court order from a judge and make them appear and open up their books.
Oh, okay,
Because
but is that the status? Sorry, is that the status of where it's at?
Well, let me explain something. What most people don't know is that with liens, judges don't award liens. They award nothing but money. So if you go to a garage and a mechanic does $3,000 worth of work on your car, and you can't pay the $3,000, all he has to do is file liens and go to the court and put them on record, and then sell your car for $3,000 because you owe him money. He doesn't have to get no award from any judge. Neither does the IRS. You owe the IRS money, they're going to put some liens on you and go file it into the court on record and come in and lead up your bank account and your home and whatever, your car, whatever they want to take. That's how it works. Okay, but you just got to have the knowledge of this. See, I got the knowledge.
All right. So you filed liens on who?
On Warner Brothers, Fox, James Cameron, Gail Ann Hurd, Andy and Larry Wachowski. All of them. All 8 of them.
Okay. And what has happened about the liens?
Now, what about what now? What was the answer?
What has happened? What has happened as a result of filing those liens? Has anything more happened?
This is what happened. I filed a third court case.
In what state?
In Virginia, the trademark. The trademark, the USPTO, is in Virginia. And so my third court case, like I told everybody, was filed on December the 16th, 2013. You see, so they were stealing my royalties. In other words, they lied and said that a video game, Enter the Matrix video game, was a movie, part of a movie series. In other words, they're saying that it wasn't a trilogy, it was a movie series, meaning a fourth movie. See, a lot of people don't know, but you can actually get a trademark if you do a series, like say the Harry Potter series. If it's 4 more movies, you can actually get a trademark for a single movie, but you can't get one for a video game. It's against the law. So what they did was they amended the application. First they had Time Warner for Enter the Matrix video game, because they tried with Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolution, and they got canceled out under Title 18 UFC, criminal. So they couldn't get a mark for Matrix Reloaded. They couldn't get one for Matrix Revolution. They never tried for the Matrix. I went in and got the state trademark for the mark, the Matrix, and the logos and everything, and the characters, the whole dime. And I can send it over to you. If you look under stipulations of fact, you can take a look at it for the exhibits.
Okay.
And I own the derivative because Matrix, Terminator, Enter the Matrix video game, all of these are nothing but derivatives. And the government turns around and gave me the copyrights to the Matrix, the copyrights to the Terminator, to the Animatrix, and Enter the Matrix. So I told the judges over there in the trademark that I own Enter the Matrix, and the characters that they tried to amend to the application. They tried to transfer Enter the Matrix video game from Time Warner to Warner Brothers. That's right. And they tried to amend the characters and try to act like it was a DVD movie when Enter the Matrix was nothing but a CD-ROM. Atari would not do DVDs until the year 2014, 2015.
Okay, well, what is that? What is that? Okay, what does that have to do? What does that have to do with the new court case that you filed?
It has to do with the royalties, because
Okay.
The first court case was stealing my profits. The second court case was me getting ownership to the franchisor and getting those lawyers back and getting money. The third court case is about getting your royalties, because when you file for counterfeit trademarks, that brings down the value of the money. Everybody's money is worthless. This is why they law enforce counterfeiting trademarks, because the FBI's money is no good, CIA, your money, my money. Nobody's money is any good as long as counterfeits are out there. It's the same way as you, Kroger Diamond, you flood the market with $100,000 of new diamonds. That's going to bring down the value of Kroger's diamonds, and they're going to be pissed.
Okay.
You see what I'm talking about? Well,
yeah.
That's what counterfeiting does. It brings down the value.
Okay, but what is the status? What is the status on this lawsuit?
The status is that I got them now in a checkmate position. They can't even move, because what happened was they tried to say that they had standing. They tried to lie and say that they had been adjudicated as the owners in the first California case. There's 3 judges over at the trademark, not one judge, because they know that one judge can be bought out. So they got 3 judges at the trademark level. So when you go in, you can put some slush fund money to the director, the commissioner, or some of the lawyers over there, but you can't buy out those 3 judges. So what happened was I put in the Utah court transcript, I put in the California court transcript, I put in the ruling from the Utah where the judge ruled as a fact that I'm the owner and that I have standing, and then I put in my state trademark, the Matrix, and that the characters, I put in the characters belong to me, and that they lied how they got the mark. So see, all you have to do is show the trademark judges how they committed fraud to steal a mark from that office. So they want to know, how did you do it? How did you perpetrate the fraud to get a mark out of them? And I showed the judges that they lied and said that Enter the Matrix was a DVD movie, part of a series called the Matrix series, instead of using the real terminology Matrix trilogy, because it's only 3 movies. The 4th movie will be Matrix 4, which I got the copyright, and the Matrix 4 has been selling around the globe. Matrix 4 movie coming soon. So this is what they did. They lied and said it was a DVD when it was a CD. They changed the font size, the font on it to make it look like it was a movie. They put in goods, like DVD goods and movies and TV series, everything that this mark had never been used on.
All right. Okay, wait.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, so but what is the outcome? Has that lawsuit been settled?
No, but it's in the process of me winning. I can tell you that, because this is the deal. All they can do is, listen to me, all they can do is try to get the case dismissed. You cannot dismiss a case when there is a ruling in a adjudication, a fact. When there is a fact in dispute, you can't shut a case down. When there's a genuine material fact and a ruling from 2 federal judges that I'm the owner and that they had access and that they lied and committed perjury, that they had no standing, they never owned the Matrix, Time Warner never owned it, Warner Brothers only distributed, but they didn't own it, they didn't create it, they all created a lie, created an illusion, because that's what they are, master illusionists. They adapt work to the screen. They don't invent work, they adapt work, meaning that if the writers go on strike, then you're going to get Godzilla, you're going to get the Smurfs, you're going to get the Chipmunks, you're going to get the Three Stooges.
Right.
Rehash, reruns, repeat.
Yep.
That's what they're trying to do with the Terminator, but they won't be able to release it because of the judge's ruling in Utah. What Schwarzenegger jumped up and did, trying to copy off the Sylvester Stallone with the Expendables, went in there and did a rehash of the old Terminator movie from 1984.
Okay,
and you can look at the trailers. Go back, everybody, look at the trailers. The latest car in there is about 2010. That tells you that that movie has been created and made about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, that's interesting.
They paid $9 million during the Super Bowl talking about the Terminator trailer. And you don't sit up there and say you got to release in July when you put out $9 million. You put out the $9 million before you release the movie, but they know that they can't release it because they never got adjudicated in a California case. That means that I can file another lawsuit. And every time they show this Terminator, old Terminator, repeats and reruns and syndication, that kicked in the RICO law. That means that you committed a crime and the statute of limitations starts over again every 3 years. Every time you put something stolen and make money off of it, it kicks in the RICO law. And it starts the statute of limitations for running 3 years.
Okay. So
that's really important. That's really important.
No, I appreciate that. Okay, I hear you. But in terms of where things are at now and where you want to go with all of this, what is your objective? First of all, with the lawsuits, what outcome do you want to see? And secondly, I would like to talk to you about what you might be writing now, what Matrix 4 is portending about the future, and if you actually think this is based on fact or if this is your sort of imagination at work.
It's not my imagination at work. It's a visionary piece. I'm talking about the technology that's coming 15 to 20 years up the road, real technology, the virtual penal system. That's a reality. Homeland Security approached me about it because, come on, virtual penal system where you don't have to lock people up on Alcatraz, an island. You don't have to put them on the moon. You don't have to put a prison on a ship. You know what I'm talking about? Somewhere out of space, you can actually put these rings, like laser rings around people that are activated by their own emotions in a microchip. That's scary. A lot of my fans is like, please don't give them that technology. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, are you saying? Were you saying you have that technology, or are you saying you just wrote about it?
I have that tech. I know how it's done. Because you know what I'm saying? I know exactly how it's done, how it works.
Okay.
That's why I told you when you were reading The Matrix 4, you was reading a lot of real stuff. I know you knew this now. You're very intelligent, very superwoman. You well-versed, well-read. You've had some of the most phenomenal people on your show that had great knowledge, great wisdom, and given you really even more insight. So you know when you are reading something, if it's imagination or this sounds very real.
Okay.
And when people go and they look at my Third Eye book, and the copyrights are there, and it's the original manuscript, first edition. Go to Washington, D.C., pull it up.
Okay, wait one second. Sophia, stop. They've now interrupted us again.
Okay.
Oh, God. Okay. So hold on one second. I have to restart this, so stay right where you are. Hold on one second here.
Take your time, because I know they hate this. Listen to what I'm saying. I am teaching and telling and educating.
Incredible. So we are back. I'm copywriting that. We are back. Okay. Anyway, so Sophia, so we were just talking about what you're looking for in the future, what outcome you want to see from all of the legal battles that you have. Okay, so let's talk about that, and then I want to talk about the future of humanity. Okay?
Okay. What I'm looking for is 3 to 4 billion Matrix and Terminator fans around the globe, every race, color, nationality, tongue. They want more Matrix. They want more Terminator. They want to see Terminator 5. You don't want to see a rehash of the Terminator. some old rehash for somebody who doesn't understand the concept and can't write. You want to see more progressive technology and how the evolution of the Terminator, how he's evolved into another greater machine than what he used to be. You want to see more of the Matrix because you loved it, not 2 and 3, and made it into a bad dream, and that Neo and Trinity are soulmates and they didn't die. They shared the same dream, and the saga continues, but greater, and introducing new characters and new agent machines to take place of the old agent program. So I just want to continue my work and give the people what they really love, Matrix and Terminator. And I want to collect my money, and I want to fight for the rights. They're still stealing a lot of our phenomenal authors, their books, their work. Even if they do contracts, they're still stealing some of the producers, a lot of people here. I want you guys to do my GoFundMe.com. You can look at it's on my website, matrixterminator.com. GoFundMe so we can fight for trademark royalties and rights. That's what I'm fighting for now. I didn't fought and won the copyright. Now I'm fighting for the trademark, that we need to protect copyrights and trademark. I'm a warrior that's going to stand up for truth. I don't care about the giants. I don't care about the machines. I don't care about the corporations. The people have the power. Like the late John Kennedy said, the people, you know, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time. The power is with the people. We can make the changes. The machines don't control. We are the controllers. We have the power. And if people won't stop stealing from us, we will boycott them. We will not support them. We will make sure their stocks go down where they will be taken out. But we're not going to go for this.
Okay. And so...
Keep copyrights clean.
All right. That's great. Now, in terms of your book that you wrote and Matrix 4, you are looking at a future that has a lot of machines in it. You have a Terminator, you have Skynet, and you believe that this is the future. Is that correct?
It is, because it's going to be VI satellite. Like I told you, the virtual penal system.
Yes.
In the future, you will become your own judge, jury, and executioner. If you can't control your own emotions, there will be no more courthouses, no more judges, no more jury, no more buildings of that. In the future, they will bring you in, you commit a felony, you will lose your rights, they'll bring you in on a gurney, and they will swab you, body scan you, take pictures of all your tattoos, and put them in a database, your hair samples, skin samples, blah, blah, the whole 9 yards. And then they will put a microchip the size of a pinhead, which is a LoJack, inside the delicate part of your brain, but now they can track you via satellite. Now the correction officers and the probation officers and the parole officers and the Homeland Security and the soldiers and the police will be watching you on monitor. All the jobs will be going to the internet. Get you an internet job. Get you an internet business. There's everything, all the physical things, the magazine, newspapers, television, everything. Movies are going to come to the internet. All the jobs.
Okay.
Going to be one place to another place.
What about a positive? What about the positive side of this? Because you've got children in the Matrix 4 that have special qualities, special abilities. You've got somebody breaking out of the Matrix, which is basically Neo and Morpheus and the rest. So you've obviously seen also a positive side to this story, right?
Yes, I have. Because a lot of this was never explained because they were not the authors. You have seen these children with the special gifts, exhibiting these special gifts, like the little boy in the Matrix with the oracle, the children with the oracle, the little boy bending the spoon. But he wasn't bending the spoon, but he was bending energy. And he's an indigo kid. And the young adults are the crystals. And this is when they were looking for the one, N-E-O-O-N-E, Neo. Because Neo is just an anagram or a sneaky way of calling him the one. N-E-O-O-N-E, one and the same. And they were looking for this, where they wanted to kill out these kids, because they wanted to kill out the one. And then you could see when he went through the pause that was the baptismal, where his human side died and his spiritual side was born, and the energy came from the eye, which is the third eye. The eye is God energy into him. And now he's flying, but he's not Superman. He's levitating. He's able to touch a mirror and go into other dimensions. He's able to go into the void. He's able to even multiply to the 10th power, where he can beat Agent Smith. And where he jumps into matter, goes into antimatter, because Agent Smith is anti or against matter, he blows up. And if people go in the reverse through Neo's body, is the resurrection or rebirth. For all the rebels who believed as a testament and died because they believed that Neo was the one.
Okay, but what is the but in terms of the rest of humanity and what goes on planet Earth, do you have any scenarios in terms of how humanity will sort of beat the robots and beat the androids and even the invasion forces?
Because what it's saying, and you got to get the Matrix 4 book and read it, it's saying that when we come through the womb or the Stargate, the portal into this world, first we're born of the water, blood, and spirit. We're like a little fish breathing like with gills. And our bodies are being made for the 36 weeks or the 9 months. And then when we go through the Stargate, the portal, we are born as matter, a physical body. And then we start to go through transformation because we're three-dimensional beings. And that's what you see in the Matrix, where you see their physical bodies on the ship and their shadow bodies is going up and down the line, which is the binary codes, which is the Matrix, the computers, the internet. And then this is why you say which is the real world and which is the world created by the machine, the program, the illusion. And then Neo is going to go into his fourth dimensional body. And this is where you see him going through evolution, and all of a sudden he's flying, and all of a sudden he has a light body. And this is what the light body is. It's his 4D body. It's the same evolution and transformation that you see when you see the little worm or the little crawling on the earth, the little, into a cocoon, the little worm. He goes into a cocoon and out comes a beautiful butterfly. He has wings and he's flying, he's transformed. He's gone through evolution and he's transformed into another existence of being, another existence of life.
Okay. So do you, okay. But in terms of your writing and in terms of what you see in the future, are you looking at the current Earth changes and what's going on? Do you have any comments about that? Are you going to wrap any of that into your future books?
I have put in the Matrix 4 book, the prophecy of the 2012, the augmentations of the Earth, how now California is really a desert that is going to need irrigation. It is a lack of water there. And I actually saw this. Everything that I'm talking about in the Matrix 4 book, I've actually saw these visions where the terrain changes, where water used to be, it goes back to again. Like water used to be in the Grand Canyon, where you see those grooves in the mountains, where you can see where water used to be. Because water creates a groove and the terrain, and it's there. And all you have to do is look and recognize that. Anyway, I said that certain parts of Arizona, Utah, and California, Colorado would go underwater, and that Vegas would be the new city with, waterfront yachts and villas and buildings and so forth. It'll look just like California used to look, but more magnificent because now it's water, and we have a ocean here, or you know what I'm saying? So this is what I say is going to be the transformation that's going to come. And you can tell pretty much that they know this, the people who are visionaries and are involved in technology, because Las Vegas, and that's where I live now, I'm a New Yorker, but I currently live in Las Vegas, it has grown to almost 3 million people. And they are duplicating certain parts of Vegas, looks exactly like if you were in California. And a lot of Californians have sold their homes and moved out here, a lot of Californians are out here because it's cheaper and it's not as crowded.
And what
and
about?
It's great. It's the city of light.
All right, I appreciate that. So, what about what are, in essence, androids? Because you have a sort of the Terminators moving through different kind of aspects of AI, in essence, artificial intelligence, how it manifests. Have you incorporated any of that into the future works that you're going to do?
Yes, I'm talking about the hologram clones and how the Terminators are. We're going to be living in a holographic world where the news actually wraps around you, and you can view it in a 365 degree, while you're sitting anywhere in Starbucks. That the news actually enloads you, and you're able to not just see it, but you're able to experience it while you're drinking your Starbucks coffee. Meaning you can examine the evidence while the police is examining it. You can actually see the body because everything is just a hologram and it looks so real you can't tell the difference between a hologram or reality. That's how super it's going to be in the future.
Okay. Well, I would argue that perhaps it's already happening. So, what in terms of your writing now? Are you writing every day? Are you working on these future books?
I'm always. I got tons of movies that you guys do not have any ideas. One is called When the Gods Walk the Earth. One is called Soulless, SOUL-LESS, Born Without Soul. How the Terminator 5 is the rebirth of the machines, how they're born soulless, how they became machines, how they have their own planet. It tells the whole story of the machine world. And then I have The Beast Among Us, The Glitter Heist, The Invisible Men. These are just to name a few.
All right, and these are things that you're working on now. When, just for the people that are listening, do you have anything that you're going to be publishing in the near future?
Well, I've completed this work that I've named. It's just under wraps. Terminator 5 is under wraps. What I'm talking to now is investors and distributors for Matrix 4 movie. That's why I want people to get the book, Matrix 4 book. I formatted it in script form because of the movie lovers, that people love Matrix, and I wanted to keep giving them that same salt of Matrix that they love. So I formatted my work in a script, just like a playwright would format theirs in a playwright form. I put it formatted in script form, so when you read the book, you're actually visualizing the movie. You can actually see it.
Yes.
How do I know? Because a lot of my fans are like, wow, this is visual. It's great. They're enjoying it. And it reads better that way. Okay. And so, yeah, the movie, now the real Matrix script is under wraps. But the book was going to give you an idea of what's to come.
Okay, when you say under wraps, what do you mean by that? Why is it under wraps? What are you waiting for?
Well, because I got stuff that is so super, that it's so super special effects and graphics, that when the producers and the production companies and the directors get ready to do the Matrix 4 and it goes on the screen in the trailer, it's going to be mind-boggling because people already are going crazy over the book. I haven't even done any marketing on the book. It's been selling word of mouth all over around the world, entire world, because it's so many Matrix and Terminator fans, and I've gotten letters and phone calls from people in Dubai, the Russians, the Koreans, the Japanese, the Chinese people, Peru, Italy. No joke. Germany.
So no,
France,
I appreciate it. So are
London.
you working? Are you working with a director now to put your other work then on the screen?
I am working with money people, the banks, because that's the first thing you have to get.
Okay.
Is money. I've already got one bank, a California Beverly Hills Bank. I've already pledged $20 million. But Matrix 4 is going to cost $150 million because of the special effects and graphics. Okay. It's going to be phenomenal. So, and I got a couple of more schedule appointments with other banks, two
right.
other banks.
Let me ask you a question.
Once you get the money, then you get the director and everybody comes on board.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Is there any way that you could go back to people like James Cameron and make them a deal so that they can, in essence, work for you?
Well, what do you want James Cameron for? He can't write. William Wisher and Randall Franks is the one that adapted my work. Why not say, go and ask them to come and work with me?
Yeah, I mean, any of the, but I'm saying any of these people. Can you go? In other words, in terms of your situation, do you think that they're going to come back with giving you the money, or do you think that you need to maybe go back to them and make a deal with them? Because you're talking about major studios that have the ability to distribute your work. What is your sort of approach? Do you feel that you want to work against the studios?
Well, we're in the digital age. Let me be honest with you. We're in the digital age. There's 5 billion mobile devices. No, I'm serious.
No, I know you are. Absolutely.
This is where downloading is coming in and pay-per-view streaming, like you heard about the Pacquiao and Mayweather fight. Now with all these mobile devices, iPhones, Droids, smartphones, tablets, I could go over to China and make Matrix 4, a Chinese Matrix, get one of the 22 slots, and then do digital downloading and streaming, pay-per-view streaming and stuff.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Syndication, and make more money than the studios ever dreamt of. I can actually put them out of business.
Okay.
I don't really need them because they're like the horse and the buggies, and I'm the car. I'm bringing in the cars.
Okay.
And they're threatened by me because my movie, one of the Matrix, won 4 Oscars, and it changed it went DVD. It changed the way people view movies. The martial arts was introduced in mainstream movies that came from me. And not only that, it changed the way they do business, the studios. Now when they start distributing, they were able to make billions of dollars. But now technology is moving so quickly that you don't even need them anymore. That's what iTunes is talking about when Beyonce downloaded 800,000 of her music immediately. Come on, you guys! It almost broke the bandwidth of the site.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Absolutely.
Because we're reaching millions and billions of people. There's 7 billion people on the earth, and we are reaching people from everywhere on Skype and other technological advances. So that's why I said I don't really need them. Okay. All I need is to do a deal with any of the foreign countries. China got a billion people. If I made a deal with China right now, everybody would buy the Chinese Matrix 4. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then that would make America want to do an English Matrix 4. The American version of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
okay.
I can change the game. Now, I don't mind working with Paramount. You know, Paramount is old, prestigious, and Sony has approached me. They're lawyers. They would like to distribute. They said if I can raise the money, and then I talked to Barry Osborne. He would love to do the Matrix 4. And then I left messages for Keanu Reeves and Lawrence.
Right.
You know, because I told Keanu the clock is ticking. Because it's true.
Yeah.
Matrix 5 is going to be the young Oracle, the young Morpheus, the young Neo, the young Trinity. All the characters are going to be young to keep the franchise going. So this is what Matrix 5 is going to be about. Now, Keanu needs to come back because this is his glory. He and Lawrence, you know, and all the Cherry and Mark. This is one shot where they can come, because 2 and 3 was just a lot of crap. You don't kill these superheroes out.
Yeah.
You come back with Matrix 4 and you make a big splash. So if you don't do Matrix 5, who cares? You're like William Shatner now and Leonard Nimoy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're iconic. So it doesn't matter. And then you get to go into the Matrix 5 and 6. You know what I'm saying? Also, See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
iconic.
Okay. Okay, Sophia, we've been doing this for quite a while now, and I'm going to let you go quite soon. But what I'd like to do is let the people ask you some questions. Would that be all right?
That would be perfect. They can ask me anything they want.
Okay,
Love
great.
it.
Excellent. So put your questions now into the chat in caps. I'll try to go back over the history in the chat, but some of it seems to have disappeared. So if you've got a question and you asked it early on and I didn't get to it yet, then please retype it into the chat now, and we'll ask Sophia. So I'm going to ask her the first thing. Somebody is asking you if you are interested in starting a company to give artists an outlet that is real.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. I would love to teach law. I would love to teach copyright and trademark and really build a company and teach this new technology and what's coming and how we can really become even greater. You know what I'm saying? And I work it out there and not worry about it being stolen. Yes, I would love to create a company like that.
Okay.
Very much.
Someone else wants to know what is your astrological sign?
Hey, December the 15th. Fire. Sag. Fire. Okay. And I know you hear the fire in me. A lot of people hear that fire coming out, compassion.
Okay. Someone wants to know, what should screenwriters do to protect themselves and their work?
Definitely get the copyrights, because the FBI will not come and investigate your claim. They will not look at it if you don't have those copyrights. Please, I beg you, do not pay any attention to the poor man's copyright that you see written in books. That is put there so they can steal your work. They know that no judge is going to pay attention to that, and no FBI agents. Get your copyrights. That is just like you going and buying a car and you have the title to the car. Nobody cares about you mailing something to yourself about ownership of the car. Everybody wants to see the title of ownership of that car or that house. They want to see the title that you own.
All right. Someone wants to know the exact damages you are seeking. In other words, in terms of the numbers, and what amounts are you basing them on?
$3.5 billion is the money that's owed to me, and there's punitive damages involved, but it's also profits, because whatever they put in as investment, that investment are the profits. So if they put in $70 million and then it made $1 billion, well, then that rest of the money is my money, $900 million and something. You know what I'm talking about? 900 million, 300. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you need to learn. That once somebody's invested something, minus their investment, any money that comes after that is nothing but gravy, profits, and you're entitled to the profits. Anybody steal your work, you're entitled to it. I got $3.5 billion in liens. Matrix and Terminator together, I'm pretty sure they're both probably about worth $8 billion.
Okay.
Both of the franchises. Let's say $4 billion each.
Okay. Someone here is asking about someone named Charlie 7 from the UK, about her situation because Charlie went through a similar case in the UK. Let me see. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I heard about the case, but I cannot just speak upon the case, but I'm pretty sure it's a theft that affected a lot of people over there in London, the same way my case affected a lot of people here in America. So I'm thinking it's something on that level. That's why the people are saying it's very similar.
Okay.
They're talking about politically and the impact.
Okay, and I guess, let me see. So if the studios are leaned on, do you think maybe you could trade production costs? I'm not sure what they're saying there.
Say that again. Let me hear that again. Like what now?
Well, it's a little unclear. I think that they need to put their question in a better language.
Okay.
It's not clear. Let me ask you another question here.
Okay.
Somebody's asking about Jim Carrey associates and wondering if they are real and honest folks.
Oh, I don't know anything about Jim Carrey. As far as I know, I've only heard good things about him. I've never heard anything negative.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's stolen anything, so I can't really speak on that.
Someone wants to know.
Not at all.
Someone wants to know, says, aren't you the true oracle?
Yes, I am the Oracle. The Oracle was based on myself because I created, I wanted to put myself in my work because I saw Alfred Hitchcock do it. I saw Stephen King and Spike Lee.
Yes.
So, I mean, I saw them do it, and I thought it was phenomenal. Especially, I saw Alfred Hitchcock do it first.
Yes.
And then Stephen King, and then Spike Lee, and I thought, wow, I would like to do that. So the Oracle is, yeah, I'm the Oracle.
All right.
So, a lot of people even said that when you looked at the first Oracle in the movie and my pictures, they said, wow, you and the Oracle look a lot alike. I don't think it's any coincidence when people steal your stuff. It just all happens, blends in, and it starts to make sense.
Sure. Now, someone is asking your opinion on the new Terminator movie, Terminator Genesis, and you've already actually talked about that. You don't think they're going to be able to release it, is that correct?
No, because I told them if they try to release it, I was going to file a lawsuit because they never got adjudicated in the California court. And another thing people need to know, they were listening to my interviews. There's over 1,000 of my interviews are posted online on YouTube. And I'm talking about Genesis, Carrie. I'm talking about Genesis is an anagram for its gene, Genesis. When you flip it around, it's nothing but Isgenes. It's gene. And then I go into Adam and Eve. You know, just like I went into Ava in the Matrix 4 book. And Ava is that machine. Remember the intelligence,
yes,
super intelligence? And now they got a movie out called Extra Machina, talking about Ava. Jesus, I could not believe it. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean, that I'm talking about all this, the Genesis, and then they're going to call it Terminator Genesis because I'm talking about the beginning, how Terminator is the prequel to the Matrix, and how the machines were born, you know, and Genesis is describing the atom, atom, not the Adama, and how when you splice an atom, like Eve, it pulls out of the rib of Adam, it's splicing, it's creating a clone, and how you microchip this clone, and how you birth a machine that's soulless. I'm talking about that in Genesis in my interview. And then they turn around and do a rehash and call it Terminator Genesis. And then they ebonic it, you know, instead of the I, they put a Y.
Okay.
It's just comical.
All right.
But I'm not going to let them release it. Not going to let that happen.
All right. Someone is saying, you know, if you write a screenplay or you write a book, that in essence you are entitled to 1.5%. I guess they're wondering where you get $5 billion out of the Matrix. So in other words, I guess they're trying to figure out, even if they did pay you for your book, they wouldn't be paying you that much money. So what do you have to say to that?
You're wrong. It doesn't go that way, you think. Matrix, the first Matrix by itself made $1 billion, and this work has been out since 1999. It's 2015, dude. We live in a super world now where millions and billions of dollars are easily generated. You cannot count up to that, but believe me, it is being made. How you think we got all those 400 million billionaires? And yeah, well, it's true.
No, I appreciate it.
A lot of people are not counting. They're not realizing that syndications and licensing agreements, and when you have TV series and all kinds of deals in merchandising, gaming, slots, stuff that they're not even Universal Studios, attractions, they're not looking at They're looking at a movie, but they're not looking at the big picture. This is generating billions and billions and billions of dollars. And the FBI said that I'm entitled to the profits, mine are the investment. So even if you put in a small investment and you generate millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, that is how I can calculate how much money is owed to me. They gave me the calculations plus 10% of the gross, not the net.
Okay.
That's what the FBI told me.
Okay. So I know other people have more questions here, and I'm going to have to go, pretty soon here. Sorry about this. And by the way, let me just announce here, I am going to be interviewing Mark Richards, Captain Mark Richards, this weekend, and I'm going to be leaving Friday, so that's tomorrow, I think. Yeah, Friday. So, and thank you very much for the people that have donated and made it possible for me to make this trip to Northern California to do this. So if you have questions for Mark Richards, please do email them to me. Put a question for Mark Richards in the subject line, and I will try to take all those questions with me. And I have to memorize everything, so I will bear with me. They don't usually allow me to take even a paper in with me. I'm only allowed to memorize everything. But if you're interested in asking him a question, I am going to be seeing him this weekend. So thank you again for the people that made that possible. Sophia, it looks like
yes.
It looks like I'm looking to see if there's any last question I can ask you. Someone wanted to know, for some reason they're questioning that Arnold Schwarzenegger also offered you the $5 million and you turned him down. That was a phone call to you by Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, correct?
It is correct. It's very true. I would not lie on him, believe me.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
He's a very straightforward man, and you ask him, he'll tell you, yes, he spoke to me. Even his friends, his best friends, they knew he spoke to me. It's been validated because some people did not believe, and some people who were very close to him, they wanted to know, is it true that Schwarzenegger called Sophia, and they validated it. It's been validated. I would not stay on air and be recorded and come with a lie. I can back up everything with documents and facts and paperwork. I sent a lot of it to Carrie. I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm selling Matrix and Terminator around the world. My website is matrixterminator.com. And I've been selling Matrix and Terminator since 2010 around the entire world. I have a licensing deal with Amazon, licensing deal with Barnes & Noble, and on my website. I haven't even marketed yet in mainstream markets yet.
Okay, excellent. And you do have you're trying to raise funds. And what are you trying to raise the funds for?
For my trademark case, $740,000 to pay lawyers. Plus, I need to pay lawyers to go in and collect my judgment money and my lien money.
Okay, so at this
time...
That's
really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to put that on the website. My website is back up, or at least last time I looked. So we'll put that on there so people can find it. But also, could you give out the URL or of your own website where they can find this information?
Yeah, go to my website as www.matrixterminator.com. Matrix Terminator is one word. www.matrixterminator.com. You can get the Matrix 4 book. You can get the physical book. You can get an e-book for your tablets or a Kindle version if that's what you want. And and you can see the GoFundMe.com on the GoFundMe website, and you'll have my URL there, and you can take that information, click on it, go there and donate. There's a lot of people donating. They want to protect copyrights and trademarks. And a lot of people are hearing about stolen property. Okay, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And thank you so much, Sophia. It's been wonderful having you on the show here. And I will be putting all these pieces together of the show because we've been interrupted several times. The whole live stream went down for whatever reason it goes down that makes no sense whatsoever, of course. because it's a massive channel. So they're the ones who've been going down, not us. Okay.
Yes.
So it's important to note that that's an interesting technological feat to take down live stream. I'm not sure how that happens, but that's what goes on. But at any rate, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have you back in the future to get an update from you on where things are at. And I wish you all the best, and please do stay in touch with Project Camelot.
I certainly will, and thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening to my story.
All right, thank you. And goodbye, everyone, and have a great weekend. That they read, that they then wrote screenplays off of, because I know you have screenplays now, or was it a screenplay that you wrote that they stole? Which was it?
I wrote a script treatment in a book with characters, graphics, special effects, martial arts fighting, all of this within the book. So
okay.
When you see, so it was everything. It was so much work. That's why you see 7 movies, the three Matrix movies and the 4 Terminator movies, because I wrote so much work. In fact, a lot of other stuff came out of my book.
All right.
So go ahead.
All right. How long did it take you to write your book?
It only took me 3 years to write the book. I started in 1980, and I did the script immediately. And then the book was finished by November of 83. That's why the Terminator didn't come out until actually October the 26th, 1984. And the Matrix didn't come out till March the 31st, 1999, because what happened was the second Terminator took 12 years because they couldn't do graphics and the special effects that I had, because I'm a visionary. So I was talking about downloading. I was talking about barcodes, computerized warfare with the drones. I'm talking about body scanners, food scanners. I'm talking about...
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me now. We were just interrupted, and now we should be online again. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Okay. So where were we? You were just talking about, they didn't have, actually back in those days, they didn't have the chip, they didn't have, the barcode and so on and so forth, right?
Right. Like in the Terminator, when you see Trinity is telling Kate to download her so she can fly the helicopter, because in the future you would get these downloads. You wouldn't have to study any books or go to flight school. You could just actually get a download and actually know how to fly a plane or helicopter, or to work, any kind of technical equipment, technology.
Yes.
And so, so I'm talking about all of that, in 1980s, and it was 15 to 20 or 30 years down the road that this would become a reality. You see what I'm saying? But I'm
absolutely.
talking about it. Yes.
Okay. So in your
right.
life, though, basically, can you talk a little bit about your childhood? And we're going to get back to the actual court case just a bit later, but I want to set the scene a bit here so that people understand, a little bit about Sophia. Can you talk about your childhood, how you kind of came to be such a visionary?
Yeah, it's really easy. My grandmother's full-blooded Cherokee, and my father, Spanish, he's Portuguese, and then my grandfather also had Portuguese blood. But my mom was like half native, but my grandmother was full-blooded native, and my grandmother had the gift of sight. In fact, my grandmother saved my life. During my pregnancy, she saw that I was already past the 9 months. And when I went and saw the doctor took a scan, and saw that I was almost 10 months. And so I had to have a cease affirmation within the book, including the validations of the theft by the FBI and the court dockets and so forth, showing my filings and what took place. All of that's in the Third Eye book, and I'll be glad to send that over to you also, Carrie, so you can really look at the evidence and the paperwork. It's right there.
Thank you. And you've sent me a number of documents which are excellent. And let's just, first of all, I want to cut to the chase because you did win a court case. Isn't that right?
That is correct. I won my second court case in the federal courts of Utah. I won it pro se because I am a paralegal, and I won it on September the 25th, 29th, because, you know, the order comes down the day after, or so a couple of days after, but it actually, the judge signed it September the 25th, 2014, by Judge D. Benson, and two federal judges, Evelyn J. First and D. Benson, validated as a fact on page 4, docket 283, that I am the writer and the owners of the Matrix and Terminator movie franchises from my Third Eye copyright, and that the defendants in California and the California court had access to my work. And that's a fact. Validated by two judges in Judge Benson's ruling. Okay,
and go ahead.
I won over $250,000 in attorney fees, something like $307,000, and I put in $3.5 billion in liens because Warner Brothers had injected themselves into the Utah court case as creditors and docket 285. And so when Judge Benson made his ruling, he let out 3 of the original defendants, but none of the interested parties or creditors were let out of the case when the adjudication or the final ruling that Judge Benson gave. So they are still liable for the $3.5 billion in liens. All I have to do is go for a debtor's exam and get several attorneys to come in and have them open up their books. If they don't want to show up, then we can have a judge to court order and make them show up for the debtor's exam. Because the 2 federal judges ruled that they owe me this money because it's a fact that I own it, that I created it and wrote it under my Third Eye copyright. I know you saw that, docket 283, page 4. Here.
Yes.
You saw this, right? Yes.
Absolutely. So in terms of now to go back to the story where you know, because people will be interested in how this all transpired, and I'm afraid we were interrupted with some issues here in audio, but can you talk about what your saga was from the day that you wrote it? And I think people would also be interested to know what the experience was in writing this. In other words, how did you come up with all of this? Because it's quite extraordinary, and so on.
Well, I was actually inspired because when I saw Star Wars in the late 70s, it wasn't that Star Wars inspired me, but I saw that Lucas was talking so
Hello, Carrie.
Hi, Sophia. Okay, Sophia Stewart, we are live with you on live stream right now, and this interview will also be posted to YouTube shortly. So I just want to say hi to everyone out there, and please welcome Sophia Stewart, and we will be talking about a lot of information. I did post quite a long explanation of her case and the status on it on my website, but my website has been taken down now steadily for the last 2 days. The attacks are continuing, and my webmaster Tommy is working very hard to rectify the matter, but it's not easy, and any support for Tommy would be appreciated. I haven't had a lot of funds to pay him with over the last few months, and so if you can give Tommy donations directly, you go to my donate button on my website, which whether it's up or not, I don't know at this moment because I'm not able to check. So we're having some people that are saying they're having trouble getting on to the show today here on live stream. Not sure why. And I'm going to ask if everyone can hear me okay. So please type into the chat whether or not you can hear me. I'm having to do a little bit different setup here, trying to fix some problems I'm having with one of my computers. Okay, it says I'm faint. Somebody says I'm faint. Somebody says I'm audible. Okay, I'm turning the sound up a bit. Is this better? Is this...
Can you hear? This one is just as crystal clear also. Is it loud enough for everybody?
Okay, well, I don't know. So I think we're going to just have to go on with what we've got here. I've finally reached you. I did try you on Skype again, but it didn't go through. I tried another phone number. It didn't go through. So at any rate, let's go with this for now. And
okay.
And hopefully this will work for people. So if nothing else, for those listening live, what should be going on, and I am trying to record this in more than one device, and if anyone else is listening, and if you can record it on more than one device simultaneously, in case our recording doesn't come out, then we can have, you can send me the recording, we can get it up onto my YouTube channel later. So we should be able to get this going on some level. Go ahead, Sophia, and let's start. So basically, I think where we were was I actually think we need to start at the very beginning. So can you talk about how you filed a copyright basically for this book called The Third Eye?
And the script treatment, because what was stolen from me was a script treatment and a book by the same title, The Third Eye. And it was copyrighted 81, 83, and 84. And when you go into the Third Eye book, those copyrights and those letters of access by the defendants, Warner Brothers, Fox, 20th Century Fox, the Wachowskis, the wars was the wars in heaven. And that George Lucas, the director, who's the owner and the creator of Star Wars, he's talking about the point of view of Satan, how Satan fell from the light to the dark side. And Darth Vader is talking about Satan. And I recognized, his concept. And I thought about, well, what would happen if the one, which is called the Christ or Jesus, what would happen if he came back and embodied, took on a body, and he came back in the future? And I realized that in the future, technology or the machines would be ruling, and they would have enslaved mankind, and they would have created all these programs, and people would be robotic. And I thought about that story, because in Revelations they said he would come back. So metaphorically, what I wrote was the second coming of Christ, because Jesus was the only one called the One, and that's what Neo is, an anagram or a sneaky way of calling him the One, Neoone. And when you look at the word matrix, matrix is a Latin word for the womb, and matrix is mentioned 5 times in the King James's Bible. Exodus 34th chapter, 19th verse. God says, he who opens the matrix of the womb, or the children born of the womb coming out of the womb, or his children born with souls. Because man would start, in Genesis, man would start creating his own children, mankind, or a kind of man, but they would be born soulless, because they would be microchipped, cyborgs, like naked without shame like the Terminator. Because the Terminator is actually the prequel to the Matrix. Because the prophecy is that the one would come back upon the earth again, and when the one came, you know, he would destroy the machines in the future. And that the oracle would give this prophecy and of the one. And so when you look at John Connor's JC, Jesus Christ grows up to be Neo in the Matrix. And the Terminator is coming from their own planet of the machines, would come from the future, because the Matrix and Terminator is past, present, and future time travel. So the Terminator is coming from its own planet of machines to the past to kill the woman, Sarah Connor, but Sarah Connor was Neo's mother, who was going to kill the woman who's going to have the baby. And when they couldn't kill the mother, they tried to kill the baby. And when you look at the second Terminator, he's a teenager, but he looks unisex, because in the future, I had him hidden out on paper as a girl. And that's why he has the long hair and the earring. And then he would not know consciously, because I wrote The Evolutions of Consciousness, he hadn't evolved consciously wise, he didn't know who he was. And then he would be hidden in the city, and when he reaches the age of 30 years of age, the rebellion or the revolution would take place. That's why it's called Matrix Reloaded and Revolution. And then the rebels who knew about the prophecy and knew about the oracle would come and get him and awaken him to his purpose. And he would have to be trained. Go ahead.
Okay. This is fascinating. And let me ask you, though, because I think a lot of people will be having a bit of trouble following the whole story. Was it the book?
So my grandmother said if I did not get the baby out of me, I would die. And she was 100% right. So my gift came from my grandmother. My totem is the jaguar, Cherokee. And so it's true.
No, I appreciate. I'm laughing because that's also that's the theme song of Camelot is called Jaguar.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, the natives, the Cherokee Nation, of which I'm a member of, they did a reading on me, and they did the reading, and they found out my totem was the jaguar. Now, I knew my totem was a cat, but I didn't know it was the jaguar cat.
Yes.
But I knew it was a cat. Yeah, because that totem followed me around. Now, I'm from New York City. I grew up in New York. I went to school there, and I also went to school at USC Film School. Now, I had a gift in numbers. I'm what's called a mathematician.
You're what's called, I'm sorry, you're called a what?
I'm called what you call like a polymath.
Yes.
Someone well-versed in numbers like Leonardo da Vinci is a polymathematician, Tesla, those guys were polymaths. Now, I didn't do any high school. I took the New York Regents and went into college, scored high. I have a gift in law. I only took 20 credits in law, but I have mastered like copyright laws, trademark laws, which some of these laws, RICO laws, they're very, very difficult. Yeah, and to even maneuver in the federal courts is very difficult for some attorneys. And I was taught law by the Brooklyn and Manhattan attorneys, but 20 credits is nothing. But I have this extraordinary gift because you've read some of my briefs. And like law firms are just totally amazed by my gift and my knowledge in law.
Okay.
And some people call me a child prodigy because I was doing taxes when I was 11 years old, and I was already getting paid. I was an entrepreneur, and I was getting paid. I was actually doing what H&R Block is doing now, but I was doing it 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And getting paid because a lot of adults did not even understand taxes. And I was doing payroll when I was a teenager and creating the payroll checks for adults. And I scored a 98 on the IRS exam. They wanted me to come and work for them because I was doing 1099, OID, you know, phenomenal taxes and so forth.
Okay.
So
well,
I
excellent.
had a natural gift, and I got what you call a photographic memory. And that means that I can remember dates and times and places and names and things that most people, you know, cannot even remember. I can do remote reviewing. In fact, I know I sent to you the information that unclassified information that used to be classified 60 years ago that Homeland Security sent to me from the Pentagon on the alien ship that was in Matrix 4. Do you remember that? Did I send that to you, Terry?
Well, you sent me some remote viewing information. I'm not sure whether you sent me anything about a Pentagon. Maybe you sent me something, but I'm not sure.